Hey everyone, thank you very much for your questions. I'm overwhelmed with how many have come through. My name's Clint Illsey and I'm 35 years old and I've had a Fontan procedure conducted on me when I was 4. Still here, everything's okay. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank also ANZVAC for actually giving me the opportunity to assist anyone who needs it in terms of questions and answering. I'll do the best I can. We're going to do a series of videos. It's probably a little bit easier for people who need to know the answer right away instead of watching a long video. We'll just break them down in segments. So what I'll just say now, the itinerary for the videos that we'll do. Number 1 will be childhood, which is now. This is what we're going to be talking about. Number 2 would be exercise and managing sport involvement. Number 3 would be health system access and medical care, which is a really good subject. Number 4 is living with a congenital heart defect. And at number 5, there's 5 videos only, is how is parenthood for myself and future planning, which I must admit that last one's a curly one. It's tough. There's some very good questions here and I thank everyone who sent them through, and I can only assume that these were all the questions that came through and I'm going to answer all of them. Okay, so yeah, let's get it started. Childhood. The first question I have here is any early memories, and I think that we'll probably leave that one to last on this subject. Sorry, whoever asked that. I don't have names of who's asked questions, but I believe that answering the questions after them will actually answer that question in time. So the next one will be, do you have any recollection of a pacemaker or were you in hospital stay with a Fontan op? I don't have recollection of the pacemaker. I was probably too young to remember such, but I do remember my mum was always saying that before my pacemaker was installed, if you want to call it that, or applied to me, I was very tired. I was very lethargic. I could barely walk across one veranda to the other on the other side. My first memory of childhood, honestly, was waking up in the hospital bed, and I had the zipper. And I do remember a lot of doctors and nurses with clipboards examining me. I do remember a fair bit of pain as well, even though you're probably not supposed to, but I do recall that. But in terms of the pacemaker, no, I really don't have anything of that. But and I haven't needed one since the Fontan op. I've been doing quite well without it. Did your parents treat you any different from your siblings? If any? Well, I do have siblings. Not did, though. That'd be rude, wouldn't it? I've got 2 older brothers, and they treated me differently because I guess I was from day one. The doctors had said to mum, and it was just mum, might I add, that to wrap him up in cotton wool and make sure he doesn't get sick. And if you get sick, don't go near him because he can't afford to get sick, which is pretty brutal for a mother to hear. My siblings treated me, I think, normally. Yeah, I mean, as time went on and when what you'll discover with me, I led a very normal, if you want to call it that, lifestyle. Sure, there was precautions with, like we'd wrestle around and play about, but they made sure that, again, they didn't get too rough on me. But mind you, as we got older, it was, sometimes we did, get amongst it. I guess... personally, did they treat me differently? Yeah, they protected me, my brothers, as best they could, which was nice. I guess, I don't know, they felt they had to, but I think that was mainly because being that I was the youngest, they were naturally going to do that anyway. So the heart condition really wasn't the sole reason of why they were protective. Yeah, so that's a good question there. How did your parents explain your condition? Or how did you explain it at a primary school age? Very, very good question. There's a lot of answers in there, a lot of tangents I could take. I guess being that my first memory of waking up with, like I said, the zipper, it was already apparent that there was something different about me. My mum explained to me that I was special and all the above, and that I was very lucky to be alive because it was a surgery that wasn't conducted for very long in medical terms. It was I guess in a way, even though it was quite prevalent in the UK for I think 15 years before, or maybe only 10, it was quite experimental. It was a long shot, and there were a lot of people out there telling Mum that I wouldn't make it. And so Mum explaining that to me was always, you're very lucky, you should be very grateful, and we want you to, or I want you to do well, and so on and so forth. So I guess it was pretty heavy for a kid to take on, and it made me feel quite different from everyone else, even though I didn't look any different or anything like that. But internally, inside, mentally, I felt not damaged, but just different from everyone else. And I explained that as time went on in school, to kids. If I was wrestled too hard, I'd say, "Oh no, I've got a heart condition, leave me alone." And all of a sudden it would come out, and then, Clint was treated like a cotton ball for a while. But as time went on, I got sick of that. I didn't, for whatever reason, I didn't actively think this, but at a very young age, perhaps I did think of it actively, but I thought that I don't want to play the victim card anymore. I think I really turned that corner when I was in year 5 or 6. And I used to get up to all sorts of mischief, and didn't really stop me. I do have a memory of actually